Ceago comes from an Indian word, Ceago, and it meant valley of the grass seed. We call it a vine garden because as you walk around you'll see that we not only have vineyards, we also have lavender, we have olives, we have walnuts as part of the biodynamic concept of diversity, where we have the grapes, you'll see the gardens, the whole thing. So that's how we come up with the name Ceago Vine Garden. This was a big walnut ranch. There was a bunch of old buildings in this area. And we obviously took those down, kept the wood, recycled it in this building. And then we set out to build a biodynamic farm, a place people could come and visit and see all the different aspects of biodynamic farming. The main wine is the Sauvignon Blanc, Kathleen's Vineyard, from Clear Lake, Appalachian, estate grown on the property. And what Javier and I kind of discussed when we designed this wine was to make a wine that had, good acidity, but to show through the fresh fruit of the harvest. So we think we really capture a lot of the peachy, apricot characteristics of the wine, with a good acidity, very crisp, very clean. And we also try and keep a little bit of the CO2 in the wine. If we maintain the wine cold in the cellar, the CO2 that's given off during fermentation stays in the wine, and that gives it that little frizzante, a little freshness that we like in the wine.
When people drink the wines that we make in Ceago, I want to bring our energy into the glass of wine. It's like a painting. It's the same passion I have when I'm working in the vineyard, same passion and attention I'm paying on the vines. All this energy flowing through this product, that makes a difference.
So this is what we call the grand courtyard here. You'll see more of the architecture, the heavy timbers, and the natural woods from the area. All the timber that we use are all forest friendly. You look at the palm trees there; those are all recycled. We use a lot of the cypress. We can grow citrus up here. Very varied in the kind of plants we can grow. And I might just touch really quick on biodynamic. Everybody wants to know what's the difference between organic and biodynamic. Yeah. And with organic, there's a list of things we can't do. We can't use any synthetic sides, herbicides, pesticides, any of those materials. We can't use any growth hormones or any antibiotics. To be certified biodynamic, we have the same list of things that you can't do with organic, but we also have a list of things that we have to do beyond organic. I'd like to talk about 6 different areas there. The first one is having diversity on the farm. So we have diversity with the olive orchards, with the vineyards, with the lavender that we have out here, with the gardens and in the natural riparian habitat. So we're not allowed to have a monoculture. So that's the first step. Second is that we have to have a crop rotation program when we farm biodynamically. And so obviously we're not going to tear the grapes out because it takes 4 years for the vines to grow up anyhow. So we rotate the crops that grow between the vine rows. So we can plant legumes like clovers and vetch and those kind of things, and that takes nitrogen out of the atmosphere and fixes it into soil. If we have too much nitrogen, we can plant things like ryegrass and that'll deplete it. So we plant other things like, we'll plant flowers like bachelor buttons, we'll plant poppies, alyssum in the vine rows like maybe every 12th row. And we do that because then we can attract the beneficial insects into the vineyard to offset the pests. So you need the bad guys and good guys, so we have, again, diversity.
The main thing you want to do in biodynamics is balance. When you live in the plants, the plant will tell you how much crop can it hang. So we come in here, taking this one comes from underneath.
The third step is that we have to have a compost program on the farm. So we make compost with our excess leftover grape skins, the pumice. We use the animal droppings and the straw and the urine from the barn, so we clean that out, and the chicken houses, all that. We even take the residue that blows up from the lake.
You're trying to connect the root system. You're trying to get the plant to connect to the environment. The plant becomes somehow smarter, and react to all these different factors. So it protects itself, like any other wild vine growing around any creek will do.
The fourth step, we have animal life on the farm. So we use chickens, sheep, We have these little egg mobiles, and what we do is we'll have about 50 to 60 chickens in each one of these little units. They're on wheels. So if we see pests in the vineyards like cutworms that'll come up the vine and eat the little buds in the spring, we bring the chickens out there, let them out, and they dig around, find these little worms, and then they're having a heyday. Another aspect of biodynamic farming is the 2 homeopathic sprays that we have to use. One of them is called Preparation 500, and that's made from a really rich compost, and that builds life in the soil. We stir that with 98-degree water, spray that in the evening as the earth's shutting down. The second one is called 501, and that's made with ground-up quartz. And we mix that with cold water early in the morning and spray that out over the vineyard like in a fog form. And you can imagine these billions of little particles coming down, landing on the leaves, the shoots, the ground. And when the sun hits that, it refracts light, and it brings that light up into the vine and heat, so it enhances photosynthesis. So that's very important. They're great tools to use.
And when you do, you just take 1 pinch, you just take like this much, and this will be for an acre.
Then the last part of the whole biodynamic concept I like to talk about is the forces of nature, whether it be cosmic, lunar, or solar. So we incorporate our cultural practices in with those forces. And a good example would be when the moon is full, it has total gravity. Everything's lifting up, and that's why the highest tides are on the full moon. When the moon's dark, then we have tremendous amounts of gravity pulling downward. And so my dad told me back in the 70s, he said, you guys, if you want to rack wine, you would always choose the dark of the moon, because that would be pulling the sediment totally to the bottom.
All the vigorous plants, we will prune in the full moon, because they bleed. They bleed a lot of the excess growth, the salvia, so they release a lot of that energy. When you have a spot that is really weak, you will prune it in the dark of the moon, because it won't bleed.
We're looking at a lifestyle center, a place that the consumer could come and spend the weekend. We have entitlements for a 50-room hotel, a spa and cafe on this side of the lakefront. And then on this side of the lakefront, we're approved to do 50 freestanding individual units of about 1,600 to 1,800 square feet. And that could be sold as fractional ownership. So you could come in and buy 1/10 or 1/8 of the deed. Or we can go behind the vineyard, and we have entitlements to do 70 small vineyard villas that you could buy whole ownership. And the programs that we want to extend to ownership is where they come in and really understand how food is grown and how it's prepared. So we could do events tied in with the olive harvest, pruning the olives. So I think it's a great opportunity for somebody to really live, that skin deep, real enjoyment of the wine country life. I would like to share all of this, and you just come on down to Lake County and visit Ceago, and our doors are open, and we would like you to see what we're doing firsthand here and be part of this whole experience.